Alright, what's up guys? It's Richie here with Statifying Football. This is your final regular season week for the NFL. Week 17, next week begin the playoffs. I'll do stuff for that, of course, but this is the final one for week 17. So let's just jump all right into that. You got first the Jets and the Bills. Jets coming off a 16-10 win over Pittsburgh, which really dampened Pittsburgh's chances at a wild card spot for the playoffs. Sam Darnold passed for 183 and a touchdown. It was a defensive game. The defense had 4 sacks, 2 turnovers. Then the Bills, even though they lost to New England 24-17, they clinched a playoff berth. They will have the number 5 seed. And they lost. Josh Allen was only 13 or 26, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, plus 43 rushing. Cole Beasley 7 catches for 108. It depends on what they want to do with the Bills here. They could rest Josh Allen, considering they are locked into that 5th spot. They cannot go up or down. However, I do think they are, even if they don't play him, they have a better overall team than the Jets. So I'm going to say the Bills come out with it. I think this will be a really close game because the Bills have a really good defense. So, and they may or may not be motivated or may not have their starters in for very long if they are. But I'll still go with the Bills to win. I think got Cleveland and Cincinnati. Cleveland coming off a 31-15 loss to Baltimore. Baker Mayfield 192, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Their defense gave up 481 yards. Cincinnati lost in overtime to Miami 38-35. Dalton 396, 4 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd 9 catches, 128, 2 touchdowns. They had 430 yards of offense but had 10 penalties in that game. First of all, I'm going to go Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati, I'm going to go Cleveland. Oh shit, I might go Cincinnati. Yeah, I'll go Cleveland here to get the final victory. Shout out to a couple players close to 1,000 receiving or rushing yards. You got Odell Beckham Jr., receiver for Cleveland. He's got 954 receiving yards. He may get 1,000. Then you got the more likely candidates. You have running back Joe Mixon for Cincinnati, running for 975, and wide receiver Tyler Boyd 987. So both should get to 1,000 rushing and receiving there. All right, then you got Green Bay and Detroit. Green Bay still fighting for 1 or 2 overall seeds, so this is important for them. They're coming off a 23-10 win over Minnesota. Rodgers not great, 216 in a pick. It was about running game and their their running game and their defense. Aaron Jones 154 passing, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams 13 catches, 116 yards. Defense had 5 sacks. Only allowed 139 total yards. In defensive ends, Darius Smith had 3.5 sacks himself. They had 383 yards, but 3 touchdowns. You got running back Aaron Jones, 984 rushing yards. He should be able to get to 1,000. Wide receiver Devontae Adams has 904 receiving yards. He may be able to get to 1,000 there. And they're playing Detroit, who lost 27-17 to Denver. David Blau, 12-24, 117, 1 touchdown. Not very good. I think Green Bay should win this one. All right, then you got the Chargers in Kansas City. Chargers lost to Oakland 24-17. Phillip Rivers 279. Defense had 3 sacks. Kansas City beat Chicago 26-3. And Kansas City has a shot at the number 2 seed if they win and New England loses. They beat Chicago. They said 26-3. Mahomes 251 passing yards, 2 touchdowns plus 1 rushing there. Put up 350 yards and 3 sacks. I'm gonna go Kansas City and here trying to get that number 2 seed. Shout out to Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams. Actually, the Chargers could have 3 1,000-yard receivers here. Mike Williams is at 963, and Austin Eckler, the running back, is actually at 950. So at least one of them, I believe, should get it. All right, then you got Chicago, Minnesota. Minnesota, I'm not sure. I think they are clinches the wild card spot in one of them. Chicago lost 26-3 Kansas City. Trubisky 157 passing. Minnesota lost 23-10 Green Bay. Kirk Cousins not great, 122, 1 touchdown, a pick. They only had 139 yards of offense. Defense did have 3 sacks but 3 turnovers. I think Minnesota should win here and finish off the season 11-5. All right, then you got the Dolphins and Patriots. Miami's coming off a 38-35 win in overtime against Cincinnati. Ryan Fitzpatrick 419 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Devontae Parker, 5 catches, 111 yards and a touchdown. They put up 502 yards of offense. Defense had 4 sacks in that game. This is a big one for New England if they want to clinch the number 2 seed and get a first-round bye. They're coming off a 24-17 win over the Bills. Tom Brady had a good game there, 271 passing and a touchdown. Put up 414 yards. Defense had 4 sacks in that game. Sonny Michel, if he can go off, he's at 838. Maybe he can get to 1,000. I kind of doubt it, though. But I do think New England should be able to win this one. and clinch that number 2 seed. All right, then you got the Falcons and Bucks. Falcons coming off a 24-12 win over Jacksonville. Matt Ryan, 384 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Julio Jones, 10 catches, 166. They put up 518 yards there. Defense had 3 sacks as well. And wide receiver Calvin Ridley maybe could get 2,000. He's at 866. Tampa lost to the Texans 23-20 because Jameis Winston's an idiot. He threw 4 interceptions, 335, 1 touchdown, 4 picks. 1 was returned for a touchdown. They only lost in a 3-point game, so fuck Jameis Winston. Rashard Perriman, 7 catches, 102. Defense played really, really well. 5 sacks. Jason Pierre-Paul had 3 of them. They forced 2 turnovers and only allowed 229 yards of total offense. Defense played well enough to win. Again, fuck Jameis Winston. They have 435 yards, 5 total turnovers. Fuck Jameis Winston. That being said, I want to go with the Bucks. It's at home. They can still put up yards, but fucking Jameis Winston, fuck him. Go the I'm not go the Falcons, but I think the Falcons will win just because they'll get like 3 or 4 more interceptions of idiot Winston. So go. I got the Falcons winning. All right, the Saints and Panthers. Saints trying to get a number 1 seed. Possibly here. They're coming off a 38-28 win over Tennessee. Drew Brees, 279, 3 touchdowns. Michael Thomas, 12 catches, 136 and a touchdown. The defense had 5 sacks. They did have 11 penalties. I don't think it's going to hurt them as much against Carolina, but they're going to need to fix that stuff in the playoffs. Carolina got killed by the Colts, 38-6. Will Grier starting his first game. He's a rookie. 224, 3 picks, not very good. Christian McCaffrey, 15 catches actually for 119 yards. They had 3 turnovers. Defensively, they had 3 sacks. However, I will shout out Christian McCaffrey. He's got over 1,000 yards rushing, and he's got 933 receiving yards. And if he can get to 1,000 receiving, he'll be only the 3rd player in NFL history to have both 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in a single season. So something to shoot for there for him. All right, then you got the Redskins and Cowboys. Washington lost in a pretty fun game in overtime to the Giants. They lost 41-35. Dwayne Haskins was playing well. He was 12 of 15, 133 and a touchdown. I think he was hurt. Case Keenum came in, played well as well. 16 of 22, 158 and a touchdown. But their defense gave up 552 yards. Dallas, they lost to Philly. They lost 17-9. Dak passed for 265. Defense gave up 431. However, I thought the Philly-Dallas game was a clincher for either team. That's not the case. If Philly loses and Dallas wins this game, then Dallas will actually win the division and be the number 4 seed then. So this is actually a huge game for Dallas to win. Shout out for Adrian Peterson. He's got 820 rushing yards. If he goes off, maybe he gets 1,000. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin, 919 for Redskins. He may get to 1,000. Overall, though, I think Dallas will win this game and at the very least finish 8-8 and give the Eagles something to sweat. All right, then you got Oakland and Denver. Oakland's coming off a 24-17 win over the Chargers. Derek Carr, 291 and a touchdown. Hunter Renfrow, 7 catches, 107 and a touchdown. Denver beat Detroit 27-17. Drew Lock having a pretty good rookie year. 192 passing and a touchdown. Phillip Lindsay, 109 rushing yards and a touchdown. Defense had 4 sacks and only allowed 191 yards. Shout out to Lindsay. He's at 958 rushing, so he should be able to get to 1,000 yards. I think this will be pretty close. Denver's been playing really well, but I'm going to go Oakland here. This is actually really important for Oakland because, weirdly enough, Oakland has a mathematical chance of making the playoffs. It involves 4 different games, actually. If Oakland wins, Tennessee loses, Pittsburgh loses, and the Colts beat Jacksonville, that will be a 4-way tie, 8-8. Oakland would win that tiebreaker in many different ways. So this is actually big for the Raiders if they want a prayer at making a miracle playoff appearance. Whether they get there or not, I do think the Raiders should at least be able to win this game. All right, then you got the Arizona Cardinals and the Rams. Arizona, they kind of upset some things by beating Seattle 27-13. Seattle was looking at a number 1 or 2 seed, and now there's about 4 different teams vying for that spot this final weekend. Arizona, Kyler Murray passed for 118 and a touchdown plus 40 rushing yard. Kenyon Drake went off for the 2nd week in a row, 166, 2 rushing touchdowns. They ran for 253 as a team, put up 412 yards. Defense had 5 sacks. Chandler Jones had 4 himself. and only allowed 224 yards. The Rams, they lost in an awesome game to San Francisco back and forth, but they lost 34-31, which eliminated Rams from the playoffs. Jared Goff, 323, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Robert Woods, 8 catches, 117. Tyler Higbee, 9 catches, 104. Defense actually had 6 sacks and 2 turnovers in that game. I'm going to go in here and even though the Rams don't really have anything to play for anymore, I think they should get it done against a really plucky, really good Arizona team. Watch for them in the future with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury there. But I think this weekend, Rams should finish with a win. All right, the Eagles and Giants, huge game as I mentioned earlier. Philly, if they win, they are in the division into the playoffs. If they lose and Dallas wins, then Philly will be eliminated. So they're playing the Giants, and this is no gimme game. Philly beat Dallas though 17-9. Carson Wentz 319 and a touchdown. They put up 431. Tight end Zach Ertz has 916 receiving a year, so maybe he gets 1,000. If he can get 84 receiving yards, they're probably moving it pretty well and possibly winning. The Giants, they beat Washington in overtime 41-35. Daniel Jones had an awesome game, 352 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley went off for 189 rushing yards and a touchdown. They put up 552 total yards. They had 3 sacks in that game. Barkley's got 911 rush yards. He may be able to get to 1,000. This will be a really, I believe this will be a close game. Close game. This is more the Eagles. If the Eagles win, they are in. And I do think actually the Eagles are a better overall team than the Giants. So I think they will win and get in as the number 4 seed. All right, the Colts and Jaguars. Colts come in with 38-6 demolishing of Carolina. They ran for 218 yards, so it really is about Nyheim Hines, their punt returner. He had 3 returns, 195 yards, and had 2 punt returns for touchdowns in that game, as their defense had 5 sacks and forced 3 turnovers. Jacksonville lost 24-12 to Atlanta. Gardner Minshew, not a very good game. 13 of 31, 181, a touchdown, plus 36 rushing. They do have wide receiver DJ Chark at 974 receiving, so he should be able to get to 1,000 yards receiving. This game, though, as I mentioned earlier about the Oakland game, this is hugely important for Oakland fans. If Indy can win this, if Oakland wins and Tennessee and Pittsburgh both lose their respective games, Oakland would get in. I do think the Colts will at least hold up their end of the bargain here. I do think the Colts should be able to beat Jacksonville. All right, Steelers and Ravens. This is kind of big because Pittsburgh, they lost 16-10 to the Jets, which really dampened their wild card hopes. Mason Rudolph came in 129 passing and a touchdown. Devin Hodges, not very good game, 84 passing and 2 picks. They only had 260 yards and 2 turnovers. Whereas Baltimore beat Cleveland 31-15. Lamar Jackson went on Lamar Jackson again with 238 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, plus 103 rushing yards. They put up 481. Tight end Mark Andrews, 852 on a year. Maybe he gets to 1,000. However, this is interesting to me because I believe Lamar Jackson and some players will sit because they've clinched the number 1 seed. There's no reason for them to play. So because of that, this gives Pittsburgh a chance. And actually, the Pittsburgh line to the playoff is not as convoluted as Oakland's. If Pittsburgh wins and Tennessee loses, Pittsburgh is in. So, however, that being said, even without Jackson in, I do think the Ravens are they're a Super Bowl team overall. So I think they should be able to come out with a victory regardless of who plays here. But I do think it'll be a really close, it'll be a defensive game, and I got Baltimore coming out on top. All right, Titans and the Texans, huge for the playoffs. Tennessee lost to New Orleans 38-28. Ryan Tannehill, 272, 3 touchdowns. Defensively, he had 3 sacks. Wide receiver A.J. Brown at 927 receiving, so he could hit 1,000. Houston coming off of a win over Tampa Bay, 23-20. Watson wasn't. Their offense only had 229 total yards, 2 touchdowns. The defense, though, had 3 sacks, forced 5 turnovers, and a pick 6 in that win. Now, Houston has already clinched the division, so this is big for Tennessee. If Tennessee wins this game, they are in the playoffs. If they lose and Pittsburgh wins, and Pittsburgh is in the playoffs. If they lose and some other stuff happens, like I said, Oakland could be in. But basically, the Titans control their own destiny right now. Would they win? And I actually do think they're going to get it. Houston has not really impressed me the last few weeks. They played each other like 2 weeks ago. And yes, Houston won close. They won 24-20. I think Tennessee now. They've had it going, man. They played really well against New Orleans. I actually think Tennessee will clinch that last spot in the playoffs with a victory over Houston. All right, then you got the final game of the night, the Sunday night game, the 49ers and Seahawks. If the 49ers win, I think they get a number 1 overall seed. If they lose, I'm not sure how it shakes out exactly there. San Francisco coming off a 34-31 win over the Rams. Garoppolo 248, 1 touchdown, 2 pick. They had a pick 6. George Kittle 967 receiving. He'll probably get 1,000. Seattle coming off a weird 27-13 loss to Arizona. Russell Wilson not great, 169 and a touchdown. They only had 224 yards. A wide receiver DK Metcalf 819 receiving. If anybody saw their Monday night game like halfway through the season, it was freaking awesome. Almost ended in a tie. Seattle hit a game-winning field goal with like 4 seconds, with basically no time left in overtime. Man, I think this time 49ers get it done. It is in Seattle, but I don't know. I just feel like I really like San Francisco. This will be an awesome game to watch. It'll be great. But I think, like I said, the Niners should get it done there. All right, so those are my final previews for the regular season of the NFL. Like I said, I'll do the playoff stuff, so watch out for that. Peace.
Lost all hope and wake up, try to find my focus. Meet someone new, but the walls ain't broken. It's a never-ending circle I'm in. Time slow when you're on your own and miss seeing that name on your phone. And phone rings, not you, heart slow, man. Why you gotta switch up the plan?